Hello and welcome to mme-moe. mme-moe is a teacher's coaching app based on reflective practice and a growth mindset. mme-moe is also available to school principals and to leaders and professionals in other industries. mme-moe is designed to assist teachers from day to day in their professional reflection and professional learning. mme-moe is optimized for mobile devices, so it can be held in your hand or on any other device, anywhere, anytime. mme-moe has been designed to follow the practices of highly effective people. It begins with teachers and educators reflecting. One-click gestures, which enable teachers to indicate how they're feeling about their practice on a given day or part of the day. On this particular day, a teacher felt effective. They had assessed student outcomes to a plan. The teacher has constant access to a professional learning journal where they can enter particular moments or events which were significant in their development as a teacher. Here you can see examples. I can save my journal entries as positive, negative, interesting, or innovative. And all of these day-to-day gestures are mapped according to the professional teaching standards of my locality. The teacher gets instant feedback about how they're progressing across the year, quarter, the month, the week, in terms of their reflections on their practice. The next step in mme-moe is for teachers and educators to record their progress in Know Your Competence. Here, teachers self-assess against the professional standards of their jurisdiction. They can simply indicate their level of competence and add evidence of their competence in each specific standard. mme-moe comes preloaded with the professional standards of Australia, states in the United States, the UAE, Wales, the IB curriculum, New Zealand, and a whole range of other jurisdictions. With mme-moe, teachers can self-assess against their professional standards from week to week, which is far more effective than a teacher sitting down once a year to complete a survey. By using mme-moe, teachers become more familiar from day to day with their standards, and they can nominate to add particular professional standards or statements to a plan so that they can develop that particular competence. It might be a competence they need to brush up on. In other cases, it could be a competence they simply want to take further. The next step in mme-moe is to develop a plan for improvement. And this is something the teacher, the practitioner, does. It can be done in mme-moe with the support of a mentor, a supervisor, or buddies. Or it can be initiated by the teacher themselves. Here you can see I have 3 different competencies, which in this example are being worked through by a teacher. One of those plans is currently in progress. At this point, it's probably worth explaining the name, mme-moe. Where did that come from? mme-moe is an acronym. It stands for Maximizing My Effectiveness, which is about me as the teacher or me as the principal, the practitioner. And moe stands for Managing Our Effectiveness, us as a school community, a district, campus, a regional group of schools, and so on. In this particular frame, we see a good example of that, where I have my plans for improvement, but also I can click and see the plans of peers who have buddied with me or whom I may supervise. And so I can work on me and I can work on moe. You'll notice there are notifications provided where the people I supervise or those who supervise me can stay connected real time in terms of updates on plans, updates on self-assessments, and so on. So let's look at one of my plans. mme-moe automatically generates the statement which my plan relates to. I can change the status. mme-moe provides tips and the ability for each teacher to set objectives as part of their plan on a particular professional standard. Here you can see my objectives. I have also developed some strategies on how I'm going to achieve those objectives, some ideas about logistics, where, when, and how, and reflections about the planning process. Perhaps this is the first time I've actually reflected on professional plans that I have developed. And here you can see colleagues whom I am sharing my plan with at this time. You can also see that I've received feedback from one of my buddies. And because I'm planning my improvement in relation to understanding students and their physical and intellectual development characteristics, mme-moe automatically suggests particular resources which would be helpful for my development in this area. I also have a further opportunity to add evidence. There's an ability to download your plan and share it in hard copy. So mme-moe follows the practitioner through reflection, coming to terms with their competence through self-assessment, and planning for improvement in specific areas with collegial support and the benefit of resources, which the practitioner can add to and which can be shared across the institution for broader benefit. As the teacher or educator works through mme-moe, they are automatically generating a portfolio. Here, the teacher can add their philosophy on learning and teaching. Teachers will also see any evidence they have uploaded, whether that be photographs, videos, documents, comments by other practitioners, feedback from students, and so on. And notes can be added to those particular pieces of evidence, and they too can be downloaded. I can share evidence with particular practitioners, perhaps with my supervisor. Then we come to get the big picture. In Get the Big Picture, the teacher can see changes in their level of habit, how often they're reflecting on their practice. With Get the Big Picture, mme-moe provides each teacher or practitioner a real-time indication of their level of reflection over time, the completion of their self-assessments, a very quick reference to the areas for which they are particularly strong across the local framework, in this case a national framework, and areas where they are either not so strong or yet to complete their assessments. Teachers can also select a date and see what changes occurred over time in relation to their progress. In this way, the teacher sees their habit of reflection forming over time. They understand very quickly the areas for which they are strong and areas where they could seek help and improve further. Managing our effectiveness. Remember, that's the mo part. Here, the school executive, principal, those responsible for the professional learning of teachers, obtain an anonymous yet detailed view of how teachers across the entire campus or district are progressing in terms of how they're feeling about their work, how they're feeling about their competence. And here we see a school staff who have indicated that their competence around assessment and feedback is not as strong as in the other areas. School systems and campuses can see the most common reasons why the staff are feeling good or not so good about their teaching. And here, an instant read of the improvements occurring across the staff over time, with the ability to set any calendar date to see change over time. The reasons for journal comments, quality and number of recordings around particular domains of the professional standards, and an indication of where teachers are working hardest to improve. This is valuable data for decision makers to manage improvement across the school. And so there we have mme-moe, where teachers can privately reflect on their learning, self-assess, develop and share plans for improvement, and in doing so, generate their own portfolio of professional learning. They can share their plans and portfolios, and they obtain personal visualizations which encourage them in their reflection and growth. Schools and school systems also have the benefit of the aggregated anonymous data, so they know what the return on investment is in the area of professional learning across the standards and across the staff. For more information about mme-moe, go to our website. That's www.mme-moe.com. It's www.me-moe.com. Thank you.